Simple Solutions, lesson number 29. Number 1. Paul spent $175 on 4 tickets to an MLS soccer game. The single service charge of $15 was added to the ticket price. Write and solve an algebraic equation to show the cost per ticket. Well, the algebraic expression here is he paid $175 in total. He purchased 4 tickets, so that's 4 times the number of tickets, plus there was a $15 charge. So there's my algebraic expression. Now we want to solve for t. How much was each ticket? So I'm going to subtract the $15 from both sides, remembering to line up my decimals. 175 minus 15. 5 minus 5 is 0. 7 minus 1 is 6. 1 minus nothing is 1. So that's going to give me 160 equals 4 times t. Since 4 is being multiplied times t, I'm going to divide by 4 on both sides. 4 divides into 4, leaving me with t, 1t. 4 divides into 160, 40 times. Therefore, the cost per ticket was $40. Number 2. Number 2 says, what is the square root of negative 50? Well, because you cannot take the square root of a negative number, that number would be an imaginary number. The answer to this question is it's not a real number. You will study imaginary numbers in the 9th grade next year, but for our purposes, we just need to understand that right now we cannot take the negative square root of a number. Number 3. In question number 3, it says figure A has been transformed to figure A prime. Determine if they are congruent, and how do you know? Well, I have determined that the two figures are congruent, so yes, they are congruent. And how do I know? I measured the length and the width of both of the figures, and therefore, since they were the same measurements, they were congruent, meaning they have the same size and they have the same shape. Number 4. In question number 4, it says, approximate the value of the square root of 72 to the nearest tenth and label it on the number line. So I have the square root of 72, and I want to approximate it to the nearest tenth, so I'm going to find the perfect square number below it and the perfect square number above it. Well, the perfect square number below it would be 64, so I want the square root of 64. The perfect square number above it would be 81, so I want the square root of 81. If I take the square root of 64, that's going to give me 8. If I take the square root of 81, that's going to give me 9. Therefore, I want to find the difference between 64 to 72. Well, 64 from 72 is going to give me that's going to give me a difference of 8. And to get from 72 to 81, that's going to be a difference of 9. Because my differences are so close together, it tells me that it's going to be somewhere close to the middle of the two numbers, the two integers. So it's going to be somewhere close to 8.5. Because 8 is less than 9, I know it's going to be on the left side of 8.5. So I'm going to start at 8 4/10. Well, 8 4/10 times 8 4/10, that's going to give me approximately 70 and 56 hundredths. And 8.5 times 8.5 is going to give me approximately 72 and 25 hundredths. So looking at the differences here, which one is going to get me closer to 72? Well, that's going to be 8.5. So the square root of 72 to the nearest tenth would be approximately 8.5. Moving on to number 5. In question number 5, it says, what is the probability of the spinner landing on a number 1, 5, 3? Express the probability as a fraction. Well, when I look at the spinner, there's one space for 1, one space for 3, and one space for 5. So that's 3 spaces out of a total of 8 spaces. So therefore, the probability of getting a 1, 3, 5 would be 3/8. Number 6. In question number 6, it says scientific notation is a way of expressing very large or small numbers. Take the number 8 million. You can simplify this using the scientific notation by writing 8 times 10 to the 6th power. Notice that the first number, in this case 8, is a number more than 1 but less than 10, and the second number is always a power of 10. Now we're going to write 7 million as scientific notation. So I'm taking 7 million and I'm going to convert that number into scientific notation. Well, the decimal is here behind the ones place, and I'm going to count so that I end up with a number between 1 and 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I would have to move my decimal 6 places to the left. So I started out with a big number. So I know that my exponent is going to be a positive number. I have 7 as my significant digit, and then we always multiply it times a base of 10. So 7 million in scientific notation would be 7 times 10. Well, the key to answering this question is knowing that there is 2,000 pounds in 1 ton. So knowing that there is 2,000 pounds in 1 ton, the question states that we have half a ton would cost us $185. So that means the other half would cost us an additional $185. So the cost for 1 ton would be $370. How I arrived at that is I took the 185 and multiplied it times 2 to get the full cost of 1 ton. Now I know that there is $370 for 2,000 pounds, which is equivalent to the 1 ton. And I'm going to set that equal to 1 pound. So this is the cost for 2,000 pounds. Let me label my information. Now I want to know how much it's going to cost, so that's my unknown, for 1 pound. So I've set up a proportion, a ratio. So I'm going to cross multiply. So I get 370 times 1, which is 370. 2,000 times x, which is 2,000x. And now I solve for x. So I'm going to divide by 2,000 on both sides. Using my calculator, I punch in 370, the division sign, divided by 2,000. And that gives me a cost of decimal 185. Well, because we're talking about money, we only need to the nearest hundredth. So I'm going to round to the nearest hundredths, and that tells me that the cost per pound will be approximately 19 cents. Number 8. In question number 8, it says write 2 and 1500ths in the form of a fraction. So I have 2.15. Well, I know that the 5 is in the hundredths place, so I can start out by writing it as 215 divided by 100. I always want to simplify my fractions. So if I divide it by 5 to simplify, 5 goes into 215 43 times. 5 goes into 100 20 times. So 2 and 1500ths as a fraction would be 43 divided by 20. Number 9. Question number 9 says, Fitness RS charges $58 to join the club. During January, the club has a markdown of 51% per joining fee. What is the fee in January? Well, the first thing that I need to figure out here is I need to figure out what is 51% of the $58 that they normally charge. So I start out with 58 times the 5100ths, because I've changed that percent into a decimal, and I multiply. Using my calculator, when I multiply 58 times 5100ths, it gives me a total of $29.58. So that tells me how much would be off the cost because it's a markdown. So I go back to my original $58 and I subtract how much is going to be marked down, which I've just figured out to be $29.58. So again, I want to use my calculator. $58 minus the $29.58 is going to give me a total of $28.42. So the total fee in January is $28.42. Number 10. Question number 10 says simplify using exponential notation. So we have 4 to the third times 4 to the second. Using my exponent rules, when multiplying same base, I add my exponents. So I keep my exponent and add the 3 plus the 2, which gives me 4 to the 5th power. Number 11. In question number 11, it says name 4 pair of corresponding angles from the diagram. Well, using my vertical lines and parallel lines cut by a transversal, I am looking for corresponding. Corresponding means in the same place. So I have angle F and angle D, angle H and angle B, angle E and angle C, angle G and angle A. Number 12. Gianni's grandmother paid her to shovel the driveway. Gianna earned $10 each time she shoveled, plus $2 for every inch of snow on the ground. How much did Giovanni earn for shoveling when the snow was 4.5 inches deep? Well, she shoveled 4.5 inches and she receives $2 for every inch that's on the ground. So I take my 4.5 and multiply it times the $2. That's going to give me 9. Plus she gets $10 just for shoveling. So that's $10 plus the $9 that she earns from having 4.5 inches of snow on the ground. So that means that she's going to earn $19 total for a 4.5 inch snow shoveling job. Please see me if you have any questions.